Bekiim Bahalacha 3, day 15. We're on page 28. Okay, respecting others for being God's creatures. What does that mean? Once a person understands the miracle that exists in the human body, he's going to be inspired to see all people with renewed respect. What does that mean? Ad Akshav, what did we speak about? We were speaking about the concept that look at the human body, look at everything around us. So one second. So now the human being that's beside you, you have to look at him in different eyes now. Why? The Tomer Dvorah of Moshe Cordovero, he writes, train yourself to give honor to all people without exception. Realize that every person is an expression of God's honor, since he employed magnificent wisdom in creating that person and sustaining his life. The very fact that a person is one of God's creations makes him deserve our honor. And if we would despise him as a person, we are in effect despising, disgracing the Creator. Which means that's what we're trying to do. We come and say, I don't like this guy. But one second, but at the end of the day, this is the form, the image of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. So what, we're going to despise and disgrace HaKadosh Baruch Hu? This was like the famous Gemara. You remember about the rabbi that he went and he said, like, who made you so ugly? And then the guy went and it made such a big thing. This can be compared to a master of a craftsman who forged a beautiful utensil. If someone would criticize the craftsmanship of the utensil, it would be a direct insult to the craftsman who made it. In the same way, we are sure to anger God if we insult or disparage a person whom he created. Instead, he comes and he says, our attitude should be the pasuk in Tehillim, right? You made them all with wisdom. Notice that he says, the verse chose the term rabu, not gadelu. Okay, and this term emphasizes people's social stature. He says not their physical stature. Their greatness is due to the wisdom, whom inherent in their creation. Therefore, every person should be respected by virtue of the wisdom inherent in his body's creation. So, to a minute, when we come and we say Marabu Ma'asecha Hashem, we didn't say Magadelu Ma'asecha. Rabu, look at the wonders. Look how much there is. And because of that, every single human being should be respected. So now he comes and he says like this. There's going to be 4 vignettes for inspiration. Okay? Oh, wow. Okay, listen to this. Today's all stories. Okay? Pay attention. Yeah? Read along with me. Number 1, Rabbi Lopian, he's a famous mashkiach of the Kfar Hasidim. He once boarded a train to travel to Yerushalayim from Yerushalayim to Haifa together with one of his students. The youngster asked him whether it was necessary to say Tfilat HaDerech, right? Yes or no, right? So he says the elderly rabbi assured him that it was and said that he was surprised that he had any doubts about it. He said, for sure you have to say Tfilat HaDerech. During the trip, Rav Elia came and he used the washroom. Upon exiting, he approached a security officer and he asked him to gather all the security personnel for a minute. Surprisingly, all the officers rushed to the rabbi's bidding. Once they had gathered, Rav Elia told them, I am about to recite the blessing of Asher Yatzar, and I want you all to respond amen. To the amazement of many spectators, the officers all listened respectfully as Rav Elia recited the bracha one word at a time with utmost concentration, as was his custom. When he finished, all the officers answered an emphatic, amen, a strong amen. One of them remarked that listening to the rabbi's blessing was enough to inspire someone to become an observant Jew. Meaning, just to see him make a bracha, that was enough to come and say, I want to be religious. A few minutes later, the train shrieked to an abrupt stop, far from any station. It did not take long to find out what had happened. Terrorists had laid a bomb on the tracks, and fortunately, someone had noticed it and telephoned the engineer, who managed to stop the train just in time in front of the deadly obstacle. Had he continued traveling, many of the train's passengers would have been killed or injured. During the half hour that the train waited for the bomb to be neutralized or removed, Rav Elia sat in his seat and he studied the Gemara. Obvious to all, he says, that was going on around him. Oblivious to all. He wasn't paying attention to anybody around him. Many people were beginning to connect the incidents and they said that they were only saved in the merit of the Asher Yatzar. Eventually, the conversations became high and heated, and so Rav Elia turned to the student and asked him what had happened to Case. What happened? What's causing so much excitement? And after being told, he said, now you tell me whether it was necessary to say Tfilat HaDerech. Meaning Rav Elia went and he said it was for the Tfilat HaDerech. In a sense, you see, you have to say Tfilat HaDerech. All around him, however, people were sure that they were saved only because of the Asher Yatzar. Right? Story number 2, the Tulchaya Biyu. Okay, there's Rav Zilberstein. He relates how an 18-year-old boy once came to Dr. Brooks of Tel Shomena Hospital in Tel Aviv, and he told him that he was still suffered from bedwetting regularly. So you had this child, right? Bedwetting. Yeah, it slips out. So Dr. Brooks is an 18-year-old boy, misken. Yeah. So Dr. Brooks suggested several medical strategies, but he added that it would be a good idea to concentrating better on Asher Yatzar. He explained that he knew of a tradition that this often brought relief and protection from illnesses. Not too long afterwards, the young man reported that he was indeed an effective therapy. His problem had disappeared altogether. He didn't need the medicines. All he needed was Asher Yatzar bechavana. Number 3, Dr. Brewer, a deputy medical director at Mayaneh Yeshua Medical Center, related that a 90-year-old patient was once runs to the hospital suffering from a blockage in one of his ural vessels. He was treated with standard drugs, but to no avail. The top specialist in the hospital reviewed his case and reached a conclusion nothing could be done. Dr. Brewer called in the patient's family and explained to them their father's condition had deteriorated and that his kidneys had ceased functioning. Conventional medicines could no longer help him. And it's a miracle that he still survived until now. The only thing left to do is what? Is that Hashem should intervene. For only him, he could reverse the situation. Go and do what you can. Right? That's what he said. One of the patient's sons, who works for a well-known organization that attempts to bring estranged Jews back to Torah observance, a Kiruv organization, led a tour group of secular university students to the old city of Yerushalayim the next day, which was Friday. He took them into a tour of the Kotel tunnels, which was a trip back into time in the holiest sites. After they emerged from the tunnels, they all sat down in the Kotel Plaza, and he began to teach them the significance of the Beracha of Asher Yatzar. He explained the intent of each phrase and emphasized how the survival would be impossible if the body's passages would be blocked. Suddenly, he had an inspiration. Turning to the 100 students in front of him, he went and he said, at this very moment, his father is lying on his deathbed in the hospital. The doctors have been given up, and they say that only a miracle could save him. The end, right, could be come at any moment. Doctors say that only we, the children, can bring him back to health. After a moment of complete silence, he told, please, for my father's sake, make a resolution to recite the blessing of Asher Yatzar regularly for his merit. The young man stood up and turned to the kotel, praying sincerely for the man's recovery. So he says, the young men, that's what they did. And while resolving to recite the beracha from then on, afterward, the son called Dr. Brower and told him what he had done while asking about his father's condition. After checking, the doctor reported that there was a marked improvement in his kidney function. It is nothing short of a miracle, he explained, but we have to wait and see how it develops. Each day his condition improved, and 10 days later he was fully discharged, right, fully recovered, as if nothing happened. Number 4, last story. The Birkat Etan. Page 644 relates the story of a non-observant surgeon who worked at Tel Hashomer Hospital. Despite the fact that he did not observe mitzvot and walked around bareheaded, right, without a kippah, he always recited the Beracha Asher Yatzar using the restroom. When asked about this curious paradox, the doctor replied, look, I'm a surgeon by profession. I may be a secular Jew, but I see the wonders of the human body from the inside every single day. It never fails to amaze me each time. I could not imagine myself not saying a Beracha Asher Yatzar, therefore. Have a wonderful day.